Hey everybody, I'm live. It's John Hope Bryant, founder, chairman, and chief executive officer of Operation Hope. I am also the author of several books, one of which is coming out in September, my newest book, The Memo, which is all the stuff you were never taught about power and money and how success works in this country and around the world. Also the author of a couple bestsellers, How the Poor Can Save Capitalism, Rebuilding the Path of the Middle Class. Hey Asha, hey Jay, Jamie Nelson signing on. Asha is signing on from Europe. Thanks for Joe Wills, thanks for the award, congrats on the award, thank you very much. O'Neill Lyons, hey Wichita, Kansas. Ron Joseph. Glad to catch you live. Hey Yolanda Frazier, one of our top followers, Esther Fife, who was with us last night. Okay, How the Poor Can Save Capitalism, Love Leadership, The New Way to Lead in a Fear-Based World, published in 2009. That could be published again today. Hey, Derek Smart, Richard Canty, afternoon. We control, within my basket of companies, 35, soon 40 for-profit and non-profit organizations that I built from nothing, built from scratch. Hey, Detroit, signing in. JL, yes, you have arrived. I love you. Shreveport, Louisiana, signing in. And Angelo, Thomas, love your work. Thank you very much. Love you back. Okay, let's get into this. Why some people fail. This is an extremely important video. Before I get into this, I want to acknowledge my personal hero, the love of my life, my mentor, my role model, the global spokesman for Operation Hope, Ambassador Andrew Young's 85th birthday. That's my hero right there. His 85th birthday, he was celebrated last night in a concert at Phillips Arena here in Atlanta. Only him can get together 6,000 to 9,000 people on a moment's notice to fill up an entire stadium. It might have been more people than that, actually. I got to get the numbers. For a credible concert, and Chris Tucker and Howard Hewitt, who's staying with me here and who'll be performing tonight, by the way, here in Atlanta. I hear the show is sold out, but if you can get a ticket, we'll be there. Usher was there, the mayor was there, all the heroes and sheroes, Carolyn Young spoke. Just a wonderful night of love, and I was honored to receive a Social Impact Award. Van Jones was there also, my brother, who also got an award. I was honored to receive the Social Impact Award from the Andrew Young Foundation, and kudos to the staff who worked so hard to make that happen. Kathy White, Eric Fears, and others, Sylvia, Ashley. Okay, so the topic of today's video is very important. And by the way, my love and heart goes out to those in London who are dealing with another terrorist attack that's taken lives from depressed and frustrated and useless people who are punks, because versus taking themselves out, they want to take out some innocent victims. Versus going up against the military, they want to attack an unarmed citizenry, which is the absolute definition of being a punk, fraud, person without any courage. You're just a complete punk with no backbone whatsoever would do that. And so anyway. Okay, so Sergio Award, John, for 2020, and Van Jones is my VP. I don't think Van Jones would want to be my VP, and I wouldn't want to run for office. I wouldn't leave that alone. Let's get into this. Why some people fail. Now, I really want you to listen to this video a couple of times. I want you to share this video with your family and friends. I'm going to tell you something that I don't tell many people. I'm going to talk to you extremely straight. I'm going to deal with gentrification on this video, which is a lot. The way in which it is brought up by minority advocates. So that should upset you if you're a minority advocate, but I'm trying to help you, so please listen. I want you to win. Not just get emotional. I want you to be successful. Here is why most people fail. I'm talking about minority groups of all races and stripes. I'm talking about anybody who's been oppressed or depressed or de-stressed. I'm particularly talking about my African American brothers and sisters who I love so much. Okay. After 350 years of slavery, I'm talking about African Americans now, on American soil, which was morally bankrupt, oppressive, inhumane, people who did this surely went to hell, okay? I don't have to hate them because God's dealing with them. So I save my energy for something else. So it was morally bad. It was the worst form of capitalism you can imagine. Make that plain. After 350 years of slavery, which started at 1619, Jamestown, Virginia, when the first slaves and 3 or 4 white indentured servants arrived as unpaid chattel, unpaid assets, workers. The whites were able to work their way out of slavery, and blacks became permanent slaves. It's morally repugnant. But after 350 years of slavery, 100 years of Jim Crow, ending in our lifetime, ending in 1970, not 1870, I'm convinced that 70 to 80% of black Americans are clinically undiagnosed depressed. And for my white friends watching this video, you'd be crazy too. Okay? If you went through 250 or 300 years of slavery and repression and Jim Crow laws, and in 1970 you still were being repressed and having laws keeping you from something as simple in 1960 as a shared water fountain, yet alone being able to be given a quality education, which we were denied, yet alone being able to build an ownership class, a wealth class, which we were denied, yet alone being not given the Memo on free enterprise and capitalism, which we were denied, with the Freedmen's Bank of 1865 and Abraham Lincoln, who tried to create a bank with Frederick Douglass to teach free slaves about money. I know about that story because I got the federal government to rename that building, the Freedmen's Bank building, last year. It was called the Treasury Annex building across the street from the White House. If you've never heard that story, please stop with your family right now and Google search Freedmen's Bank. You'll see that I and Operation Hope lobbied our government last year and got them to rename that bank building in honor of 72,000 former slaves with every dollar they had in that bank. Not because they wanted to hand out, because they wanted to hand up, because they were hard-working and God-fearing and loved the country that didn't love them back. But still we rise, because over and around and through it, we decided we're going to get to it, because rainbows only follow storms. You cannot have a rainbow without a storm first, because we decided that life was 10% what life does to you, and 90% how you choose to respond to it. And we decided to respond a different way in 1865 to being repressed, distressed, depressed, and overwhelmed. We decided to rise up, and we put $52 million in that bank. It's $100 billion today. It would be one of the top banks in the world. Unfortunately, Lincoln was killed, assassinated. Our 40 acres and a mule came 2 months before that. I don't have time to get in that story, but that 9-day period was 400,000 acres. That's field action 15. I'm talking fast to get to the point. I did other videos on the Freedmen's Bank, which you can go back and research. That then led to us working, no email, no Snapchat, no Facebook, no Twitter, no Instagram, no cell phone. But somehow in 1 month's time, former slaves got the memo that land was available to them. And it was a horrible land, by the way. And love the library. Thank you. We all need a library. And we worked so hard. They said the white general for Abraham Lincoln said, "Give them a mule, my God." That's like saying today, give a farmer a tractor. It's an investment. It wasn't a handout. It was a hand up. And so that was February. January was the land. February was the mule. March came the bank, the Freedmen's Bank. The same month, the same day that Lincoln signed the legislation for the Freedmen's Bank, he also signed legislation putting "In God We Trust" on U.S. currency. So that I believe Lincoln was saying, never again shall something as repugnant as slavery, as morally corrupt, morally bankrupt as slavery, ever shall that kind of capitalism ever be mixed in with government-endorsed activity ever again. So "In God We Trust" was put on U.S. currency. Claudia says she loves that share the history. Thank you very much. And that was 1865. Abraham Lincoln gets killed the next month, April 1865. And Frederick Douglass, who is a great brother, black man who we know as an abolitionist, but really was a businessman. He owned property, lots of it in Baltimore, owned property in Anacostia. When you go to Washington, D.C., I want you to go tour his property in Anacostia. It's an entire block. This brother owned a block of land, a corner of land in Anacostia. Still to this day is there. And he had enough money to put up $10,000 to invest in the Freedmen's Bank, which means he wasn't a broke brother, right? So all this is tied to the topic today of why we fail. So the bank goes away, and there's a backstory to this. It even inspired, even its failure, the surge of a lot of other black banks that really stood up. There was an original civil rights bill from 1875. Go do your research on that. The civil rights bills of the 1960s followed 100 years later. The Civil Rights Bill, the original one of 18 1875. In 1885, a bunch of black banks were stood up, and following the black banks being stood up and people getting the memo on money, you had a surge of between 4,000 black businesses to 40,000 black businesses, which then created jobs in our neighborhoods. And then we had the Great Depression of the 1920. And again, I don't want to get distracted from the topic today. I just want you to understand I know my history. Okay, that's my point, right? So I'm not coming to you crazy. I'm not coming to you sideways. I'm coming to you straight with information and, as Maurice Smith here said, mental food. I think that, quote Ambassador Andrew Young, we can solve our problems from the neck up. We don't need to solve our problems from the shoulders down. This is old software. This is new software. You got to think your way out of poverty. You can't fight your way out of poverty. So now let me pivot to the topic today. The reason why most of us fail. The same tools that allowed you to survive are keeping you from being able to thrive. So, because of 350 years of slavery, because of, and by the way, I keep moving from 250 to 350 years because it depends how you measure it, okay? It was slavery, it was commercial slavery, it was Jim Crow laws, okay? And then leading to basically almost 400 years of repression. You have people who are clinically undiagnosed depressed. It's not their fault. It's what they don't know that's killing them. They've been told they were crap for so long, they absolutely believe it. And if you were white or Asian or Indian or anybody else, Latino, you'd be as crazy as black folks, if not crazier, okay? In fact, black folks have been doing so much with so little for so long, we can almost do anything with nothing. Black folks have been doing so much with so little for so long. Can I get an amen? Give me some thumbs up here. We've been doing so much with so little for so long. Yeah, there we go. We can almost do anything with nothing. We've been doing so much with so little for so long. We can almost do anything with nothing. And that is a great legacy. We even turned slavery food that they threw out the back door, the slave master, to try to basically show us disrespect. They ate the nice part of the food, then sent us the scraps. And that's where we got hog maws. That's where we got pig's feet. That's where we got hoe cake. A lot of the food that we eat, which is actually not very good for us, were the scraps that were thrown out from the back of the slave quarters, and we decided to make a positive out of a negative. We decided rainbows follow storms. We decided loss creates leaders. We decided over that's not in it. We decided to take that disrespect and turn it into respect, turn it into food and cuisine that is now respected and loved around the world. Unfortunately, that's all you eat. Then you'll probably end up obese, overweight, and die early. So we need to change our diets because we're not in slavery anymore. But it was an example of how we were such amazing thrivers. Okay, now, survivors, I mean, in that area. So we have had this long history. Please, if you've never listened to any one of my videos, there's 30 million viewers today in the last 14 months. Several videos over 3 million, 4 million views. There's a dozen of them over 1 million views. I hope this one gets to 1 million. Please hear me. The reason that you are failing, the reason that people that you love are failing is that we have not shifted our mental software, our emotional, our intellectual software from a history of surviving to a new legacy in learning of thriving. This is my book, The Memo, coming out in September. Did you get that? Please tell me, did you get that? And if not, please put some notes here, and I'm going to try to comment if I'm not making myself clear. And let me try to break this down even more specifically. The tools that we needed to not be beat up by the police. The tools we needed to not be tracked down by the Ku Klux Klans. The tools we needed to deal with a repressive environment of clearly racist white folks in the South in 1950, in 1960, who said white founders for these people and black founders for those. So this wasn't somebody's imagination. This wasn't somebody creating a boogeyman of white folks. This was a certain group of, not all white folks. I really rebel when O'Neill says drop the mic moment. I really rebel when people start group thinking everybody and saying, oh, white people are the devil, and why is he hanging around white people? What are you talking about? What's wrong with you, right? White people and black people co-founded the NAACP 120 years ago. So now what? Were they the devil? White people and black people co-founded the National Urban League 120 years ago. So were they the devil? Okay. White people and black people helped Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In fact, half of all the volunteers in the civil rights movement were whites. and half of them were Jewish. Were they evil? Okay, the folks who gave Dr. King the Nobel Peace Prize were all white in Norway, which is where I just came from. Were they evil? Let's stop this craziness. So you have good people who are black, you have good people who are white, you have good people who are Asian, Indian, other, Latino. You have white, you have horrible people who are, yes, white. You have horrible people who are black, who have robbed your grandmother, who murdered your cousin. But yet we want to rationalize that. And to rationalize is to tell rational lies. Black on black crime is not a myth, it's a reality, okay? You have white on white crime, Latino on Latino crime, yeah, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that we keep selling this lie to people who are oppressed, depressed, stressed out, and looking for a boogeyman to blame their problems on. We want an easy way out of our problems. We don't want to deal with the fact that some of this, that while the legacy of this was certainly on somebody else, that the present reality of this is now on us, and what we need now is a hand up, not a handout. What we need now is to be taught how to fish, not somebody to give me a fish. What we need now is to be able to do for ourselves. What we need now is to be able to lift ourselves up. What we need now are new software upgrading our lives and our skills to move from surviving to thriving. But no one wants to do that hard work. No one wants to have that serious conversation. We want to give people the easy way out. We want to pat them on the head like they, like the victims. Oh no, you poor baby, you're an endangered species. So what have we done? We told black women, we told black men that they were an endangered species. I'm coming back to my point about surviving to thriving, or surviving to thriving. We told young black men you're an endangered species. That everybody was hunting for you. The police were hunting for you. You were lashed out at by the criminal justice system. So then, what do we do in response to that? We raised our daughters and we loved our sons. We patted them on the head. We weren't as disciplined. We weren't as structured. We weren't as hard on them because, they're victims. So now you end up with a generation later of women and punks, not men. Not young men who have hard work ethic, who get up early, stay up late, struggling hard, hustling, handling their business, who are going to college, getting their education, contributing to life. 70% of the attendees of black colleges, ladies and gentlemen, are women, not black men. 70. I love facts because facts are stubborn things. Don't come to me with your rhetoric. Talk to me about facts. Nobody's keeping you from going to an HBCU college. The Klan's not keeping you from getting your education. The Klan's not keeping you from getting your high school diploma. Don't give me this. The white man's not stepping on your head from going and doing a job application 10 times a day until somebody says yes. Don't tell me that the man's got his hand on your back and a hand on your neck. What did Dr. King say? That no one can ride the back of a man who's stood straight up. No one can ride your back if you are stood straight up. If you are standing straight up and your shoulders are back, no one can ride your back. So yeah, there's repression, and yeah, there is discrimination, and yeah, there's racism, and yeah, there are people who are hunting for you. But why are you making it easy? When they're sleeping, why aren't you working? when they are even racist has to go to sleep. So let me get back to my topic. So here's a drop the mic moment. We have become so used to surviving, just getting by, just barely paying rent, trying to make sure you don't get, your son doesn't get, or daughter doesn't get shot on the way from school, or abused by some abusive police officers, or your daughter wasn't physically abused, or you're dealing with some structural repression in the system, or fighting a government that wasn't for you then and doesn't seem to be for you now. We've gotten so used to surviving, just getting by, and we're so depressed, and we've not gotten help for it, that there's an entire industry set up to keep you sedated. So we eat until we sleep. We sleep until the next day. We go to the club because we want to forget about our problems. But somebody then serves you a $1,000 bottle of champagne that costs them $50, by the way. We want to go to entertainment. We want to see sports. We want to go partying. We want to go shopping. We want to sleep. We want to do drugs. We want to do marijuana. We want to do anything that gets us off of the problems of changing our lives and dealing with our pain, because that stuff is just too painful for most of us to deal with. 3 ways to live: coping, suicide, and healing. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. There's 3 ways to live: suicide, coping, and healing. So folks say, I'm not gonna numb. There you go. I'm not going to take myself out. Suicide. Do you know you can be you can be dead walking? The most dangerous person in the world is a person with no hope. So we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Say that. We're not human beings having a spiritual experience. That's right. Capitalism is not evil. It's it's the abuse of capitalism, Keisha. That's exactly right. I'm trying to give you the memo. I'm trying to give you an understanding of how this game works so you can play the game, not have the game play you. Back to the topic. So we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Joey, yes, numbing out, becoming zombies, exactly. So suicide. Can you be dead walking? Yes, we see it all the time. The most dangerous person in the world is a person with no hope. You walk up on a brother whose eyes are glazed over. That's a dangerous brother. You better move to the other side of the road. Because if I don't like me, I'm not going to like you. If I don't feel good about me, I'm not going to feel good about you. If I don't respect me, don't expect me to respect you. If I don't love me, I don't have a clue how to love you. And here's a big one. If I don't have a purpose in my life, I'm going to make your life a living hell. Boom, drop the mic. Because whatever goes around, comes around. Let me tell me now you heard that now. Tell me you understand that. Give me some responses to that so I can move on to the next point. I'm waiting. Okay. Did you get that point? All right, cool. So let's now go on to the next point. Surviving. This is what 95%, hey Antoine, battle, this is 95% of what folks do who are used to, hey Alexander, used to surviving. Basically an addiction is a response to an emotion you can't handle. An addiction is a response to an emotion you can't handle. So it's all the INGs. I have this in my book, The Memo. Sleeping too much, drinking too much, drugging too much, shopping too much, texting too much, social mediaing too much. All the INGs. So if you have all these INGs to the extreme, right? Gambling too much, all these smoking too much, all these things will take you out. And they're a way of you dealing with a problem that you have not been able to process through your mind, your heart, and your spirit because it's just too painful. So versus dealing with it, we just accept the fact that our cup does not have a bottom. We accept it. And which means you can keep pouring in that cup. Hello. And you'll never feel it. Which is why you need 2 hits of marijuana today, 4 hits tomorrow. You need 2 drinks today. You need 4 drinks tomorrow. You need 8 drinks next week to give you the same buzz. And that's why you're dying. And then you've actually suicided. You've actually killed yourself slowly. And now you have people looking at you, role modeling after you. Watch how you live your life. It may be the only Bible anybody else reads. So you're not concerned about yourself, Karen Horry, real talk, exactly. Then at least be concerned about somebody else looking at you for direction. If you're not willing to accept that you're God's child, you're not willing to accept that your life is precious, you're not willing to accept that God only gave you one life, you're not willing to accept that that life is unique and special like nobody else, you're not willing to accept that your fingerprints are the only fingerprints in the world like yours. No one has been reproduced like you. You're not willing to accept that, at least accept the fact that other people are depending on you to be special. To find your gifts, to not be the problem, to not cop out and be a punk, but to be a man, be a woman, to be a leader, to be somebody that somebody can emulate. If you can't live for yourself, at least decide to live as somebody larger and important, live in a way that's larger and more important to yourself so that somebody else has the capacity to follow. Betty says, say that. So now we've dealt with suicide. Now we've dealt with coping, and 95% of the society is just coping. They're not dealing with their crap. Now the third way to live is healing. Healing. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. No one can say that I'm a punk. I've admitted that myself. I got some punk moments. No one can say that John Bryan's failed. I'll admit that. I've failed many times. No one can say that John Bryan is insecure. I have insecure moments. But what you can say is, you can say I messed up, you can't say I'm a mess up. You can say I screwed up, you can't say I'm a screw up. You can say that I've been wrong, you're not going to say I am wrong because I'm God's child. See, that a saint is a sinner that got up. I know who I am. So it don't matter. I'm not as good as my compliments. I'm not as bad as my criticisms. I am who I am because I'm reasonably comfortable in my own skin. It's not a thing you can do to touch me. See, now at that point I've become bulletproof, right? And you can't threaten me with death because I've already made peace with death. What did Dr. King say? If you don't know what you're going to die for, you aren't fit to live. So now you're free. And now you can pursue healing because you're not afraid of your pain. Because pain is a punk. It's a cousin of fear, and fear is a cousin of the devil, and the devil's a punk. I want to say, I hope the children are not watching. I got to say this. Devil's a punk ass jerk, little boy. Because the devil is a fallen angel, and the fallen angel came from God. So even God gives the devil permission to exist. Drop the mic the second time. That's why I know that hope is everything, because hope is the first cousin to God. And first cousin to love, and love is the child of God, right? And that's why I know that badness has failed goodness. And that's why I know that darkness has no definition except for light. And that's how I know that we learn that we're born in goodness and we're born in love, but we learn failure, we learn fear, and we learn words like can't and impossible. Can you get the memo? Let me now deal with, so I just told you 3 ways to live. Suicide, coping, healing. Pick one. Don't argue. Pick one. Now, for an entire group of people here in the United States and around the world, repressed, distressed, right? We have been getting so much off our game. This is why I keep telling you, don't get emotional. Any decision you make emotionally is going to be the wrong decision. Don't get angry. Get even. Okay? Be cool. Don't step in mess. Step over it. Don't live down to people's expectations. Live up to it. What did Benjamin Mays say? The mentor to Dr. King? Benjamin Mays said the greatest sin is not failure, it's low aim. The greatest sin is not failure, it's low aim. It's stepping down, not stepping up. Black Rose says amen. So why do we, Maurice Smith, boom. So why do smart people fail? Because being smart is not enough. You got to reinvent yourself, Derek Smart. Exactly. You got to have new mental software. You got to have a new emotional software. You got to build yourself from the inside out, not the outside on. You can't buy a new coat and think you're going to be a new person. And if you have a Land Rover and a landlord, you got the wrong set of values. If you have a Land Rover and a landlord, one of my counselors told me this, you got a wrong set of values. I love that quote. So all these things are just these tools to allow you to cope, to deal with your drama. But now there's a whole industry set up to benefit financially from your ignorance, from your financial illiteracy, from your arrogance, from your lack of healing. Let me break this down for you. In a 500 credit score neighborhood, a check casher, next to a payday loan lender, next to a renter-owned store, next to a title lender, next to a renting rim store, renting 20-inch rims with spinners, in your car, and then selling you insurance for it, next to a liquor store. And if that's not an industry designed around coping and suicide, I don't know what is. So now you have $1 trillion a year industry plus that is literally targeting you. They are robbing you in broad daylight. But all we can do, we don't deal with that at all. We don't deal with the fact that black folks and brown folks and poor people and poor whites too walked away from $10 billion of earned income tax credit money that was due to us last year alone. That's money in your pocket, ladies and gentlemen. Go to one of my Hope Inside locations. Go to one of my Hope Inside counselors and ask them about EITC. No, we don't picket about that. We don't have rallies about that. You the financial literacy course, you can shoot a rocket through the front door and not hit anybody. But tell somebody there's a club tonight. Tell somebody there's a weed party. Tell somebody that they can go to a rap concert and get environmental high. In other words, you just get high because you're in the environment of somebody getting high. And the place is packed. See, this is an entire industry set up to separate you from your wallet. And now they have private prisons because they just figure you're going to end up there anyway. Okay? Why give you an individual welfare check when they can just gather all those welfare checks into one place called a private prison and wait for you to show up? Do you know that the majority of governors in this country can tell you by third grade reading and math scores how many prisons to build? Because they know somebody who doesn't get a good education. They know that somebody who doesn't graduate from high school is going to have a trajectory that's more toward crime, and that's going to mean you're going to end up doing the time. And now they've got these horribly offensive penalty and unfair penalty laws for the most innocent of infractions like marijuana. That if you get a 3-strike situation, you end up in prison forever. Now they have private prisons that are going to house you and earn a fee. Do you know they even have private parole companies? These little cities. Okay, that's a whole other video for another time. Let me stay focused. Okay, are you guys enjoying this? By the way, give me some feedback. Is this teach time? Somebody said church. So we have had a history of surviving, and our whole mental capacity, our emotional capacity, our intellectual capacity, our actions, our so-called leaders, our civil rights leaders, our lawyers, our organizational support is all around fighting repression, all around, listen now, fighting the man. God bless these organizations, by the way. I'm not criticizing the organizations. Please hear me. Don't anybody put out a video and say, comments, John Bryan's jamming up other civil rights. No. We need them. Hey, Dr. Nita Ward, who is my Chief Transformation Officer, just joined. Shelley Singleton, Teach and Preach. Valerie Webb Hurt, Enlightening. Keisha Gillum's Preach. We need these organizations. Please don't hear me criticizing anybody. That's not what I'm talking about, Karen Horry. John, you're talking real. People need to hear this man, Richard Canty. I'm just talking real to you, that you cannot, that you have an unbalanced boat, that we have all of our intellectual capital, all of our spiritual capital, all of our financial capital, all of our legal capital, all of our organizational capital focused on oppression. And yes, that's important. But that's the 20th century story. That was the 19th century story. That was the 18th century story. That was the 17th century story. That was the 16th century story. The 21st century story is capitalism, free enterprise, and money and opportunity. It is a prosperity story. And if you can't get with prosperity, if you can't move from surviving skills to thriving skills, then yes, you see gentrification in your neighborhood. Did you hear me? If you can't switch your software from a survival mentality to a thriving mentality, then yes, without question, you see gentrification in your neighborhood. You see people coming in and taking your neighborhood. But let me tell you, once you have a thriving mentality, once you see the glass is half empty, not half full, once you have self-esteem and confidence, which is half of all poverty in the world, you have good role models in an enabling environment, which means the opposite of that is, if you hang around 9 broke people, you'll be the 10th. But if you hang around 9 entrepreneurs, you'll be the 10th too. And then once you have hope and aspiration, you see opportunity everywhere. Then you'll understand that it's not gentrification, it's capitalism. Okay? In France, an inner city is called Paris. In the UK, an inner city is called London. You see, for 50 years, poor people have been sitting on a gold mine. They're called inner cities. But we didn't value it as valuable because our mentality was one of depression, one of lost hope, one of survival. We didn't even realize that we're 10 minutes from downtown. So we give these properties. The Klan's not running in today and running you off your land. No. We're losing it on a tax default sale. We're losing it because we're not working with our neighbor who is losing their house to try to help them to make their tax payment. And maybe you have a partnership with your neighbor. This is Mo Ivory told me this today. He was running for office here in Atlanta. A great idea. Work with your neighbor to help them hit their little tax bill payment of $100, $200. And maybe that person who can't afford to keep the house sells that house to you. And maybe you get the house at a bargain because they were going to lose it anyway. But because you helped them with their taxes and showed that you're a good neighbor, maybe they rather sell it to you than let the courts take it and let somebody who doesn't care about your neighborhood own it. And then, so everybody in here should be going to get their earned income tax credit. This is a thriving mentality. Go to Hope Inside location. Go qualify for your EITC. Go get your $5,000 check, your $10,000 check. Yes, it's real money. And then take that check and go buy a dump, the worst house in the best block. Go buy a dump in an inner city and buy it, rehab it, and sell it. Buy it, rehab it, and rent it. Buy it, rehab it, and keep it. But understand this. If you have an inner city neighborhood that's 10, 20 minutes from downtown, you're sitting on a gold mine. And when you don't buy that property, when you don't fix up that property, when you lose it on a tax default sale, when your grandma gives you that property, but you let it be taken away from you, or you give it away because you want to have a fancy apartment uptown that somebody else owns, don't go complaining that white folks are doing something wrong to you. Don't go complaining because Asians and others are doing something wrong to you. No, you shot yourself in the foot. No one hurt you in that example but you. And I refuse to let anybody scapegoat somebody else for something that we could have done ourselves. We could have owned those properties. Hello, let me get an amen on that. We could have rehabbed those properties. We're talking about properties that people in Detroit, they'll give you properties. The mayor will give you properties in Detroit. And it's cross street from Canada. You don't think that land's coming back? Everything from downtown Atlanta all the way to the airport south is a gold mine. It's inner city neighborhoods. Buy it, rehab it, and rent it. Buy it, rehab it, and sell it. Buy it, rehab it, and hold it. But go get these dumps and make them your own, because that is your hedge fund against poverty. That is your trust fund for the future. That's how you gain equity in a piece of property or properties, become a landlord, build wealth in yourself, wealth in your neighborhood, become financially literate, become a homeowner, become a taxpayer. Then you'll become a voter to protect your interests in the properties you own. Then nobody can come, quote, take over your neighborhood because you own it. And then you can create jobs, because now you have landscapers and plumbers and whatever who are doing work in your neighborhood. And then you can decide who you want to work on your properties. Can I get an amen? Can somebody tell me that you know what I'm talking about here? We got to move from a mentality of surviving to a mentality of thriving. That's the memo. That's my book. It's coming up in September. It is a generation of builders. I don't care what you build. Build a daycare center. Build a church. Build a synagogue. Build a nonprofit. Build a barbershop. Build a nail technician stand. Build a children's healthcare center. Build a notary business. Build a mortgage business. Build a real estate business. Build a tech business. Become an entrepreneur. Become a bank. I don't care what you build. Build your family. But start with building yourself. Because if you don't build yourself, you can't help nobody else. If I don't like me, I'm not going to like you. If I don't feel good about me, I'm not going to feel good about you. If I don't love me, I can't love you. And if I don't respect me, don't expect me to respect you. And if I don't have a purpose in my life, I'm going to make your life a living hell. Whatever goes around, comes around. And let's stop making excuses for dumb people doing dumb crap in our neighborhoods. It is unexcusable. I don't care what color you are. So we got to get the drug dealers out. We got to get the gangsters out. We got to get the rapists out. We got to get the corrupt police officers out and good police officers in, because we need good police officers. Okay, we need to hold our elected officials responsible for responsible public policy. We need to have your neighbors, whoever your neighbors is, white, black, red, brown, and yellow, to be good neighbors. You need to have, if you can't make your rent, go to your. Ain't no shame in your game to say you can't make your rent. Just join half of the population. 44% of America, so says the Federal Reserve, cannot handle a $400 disaster. Did you hear me? 44% of Americans cannot handle a $400 disaster without selling something. So it's no shame in your game if you can't pay rent. Having a problem is not a sin. Doing nothing about it is a sin, and waiting for it to get worse. Have a rent party. That's what they used to do in the 1920s. When black folks, they needed rent in the 1920s, they had rent parties, which means have a party with a purpose, charge $5 at the door, maybe it's $20 today, and everybody comes in and having a good time, and you just made rent. And then do that for your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your cousin, who next month, they got a problem with rent. Let them have a rent party, and everybody let's go to their house and pay them $5, $10, $20. Let them make their rent and have a party with a purpose. So you can solve these problems, right? If you decide that you're committed to healing and not just to coping and becoming a victim and punking out and becoming doing what these fools did in London and put on a suicide vest and taking other people out because you're depressed, distressed, and you don't feel good about yourself. It's not my responsibility if you feel like a bum. That's not my responsibility, but you cannot visit that mess on other people. You cannot take a child's life because you don't value yours. Can I get an amen? We have got to have a radical movement of common sense. That's what we got to have. A radical movement of common sense. And yeah, I can't get I cannot get everything in this one video. But this is a radical shift in your thinking. A radical shift in your feeling. A radical sense in your actions. A radical sense of who you hang around. A radical sense about what you think about. A radical sense about what you obsess about. A radical sense about what you feel and who you feel that thing about. A radical sense in your values. A radical sense in your purpose. If your purpose is focused on survival, you're always looking for the boogeyman. You're always looking for somebody who's got your hand on your neck. I guarantee you, whatever you're looking for, you're going to find it. Okay? Whatever you're looking for, I guarantee you're going to find it. You're looking for a racist, you're going to find one every 2 blocks in your life. You're looking for a good person in your life, you're going to find at least one of them a day. You're looking for, you buy a bicycle, you start seeing bicycles everywhere. You buy a Toyota, you start seeing Toyotas everywhere. It is bias confirmation. It's not the way of the world, it's the way you see the world. What you see depends on where you sit. I want you to sit a different place. I want you to move from a spirit of survival only to thriving mostly. And once that mental software shifts, now you see the glass is half full, not half empty. Now you have a self-esteem, higher confidence, higher credit score. It gives you more optionality, which gives you more wellness. Now all of a sudden your hypertension is gone away. Your diabetes is decreasing because now you're eating healthier. Your diet's better. Your anxiety is going away. Your depression is abating. Fear becomes an identified punk that you choose to brush off and push away. You start expanding your circle of who you're hanging around. You start finding friends who are white, black, red, brown, yellow, Chinese, Asian, Indian, and now your circle of opportunity expands because now you've expanded. All of a sudden you understand the world's a big place and you want to be a part of it. All of a sudden you're in a land of opportunity, not a land of distress. All of a sudden you're focusing on becoming a homeowner. Now you're focusing on becoming a small business owner. Can I get an amen? You're focusing on becoming an entrepreneur, a self-employment project. Can't get a job, create a job. Now you're focusing on striving, not just thriving. You're focusing on your aspiration and your prosperity. Now you see a right to vote. Not just have a right to vote, you got a reason to vote. Now you see every dump in your neighborhood as a place of opportunity, not a place of distress, or worse, some of you don't even notice anymore because you're numbed out. Now you see opportunity everywhere. You see dirty cars, let's start a car wash. You see ladies with dirty nails, let's start a nail technician stand. You see nappy head kids running through your neighborhood, tearing up everything, maybe you start a daycare. You see a problem and you want to turn it into an opportunity versus sitting around and just saying that, well, our neighborhood's is screwed up. No, all capitalism is solving problems with a profit. That's all it is. Even a parking meter and an atom and object called a parking meter has figured out capitalism. It sits there with no emotions, no identity, no nothing, okay? And it charges you a fee to park in front of it. Why can't we figure it out? To quote Shimon Peres, God rest his soul, John, you're going to be criticized. When you tell people you need to be dreamers with shovels in your hand, you start promoting capitalism and free enterprise and opportunity, you're going to be criticized because that's not the way that the world's built to believe that capitalism is evil. And that's how they keep poor people poor. Hello? That the world is convinced poor people that capitalism and free enterprise is evil and that rich people are evil, and that's how you keep poor people poor, is by not wanting them to want those things which can give them some level of independence and opportunity. By the way, everybody hates rich people until you become one. Everybody hates rich people until you become one. Everyone hates rich people until you become one. Can I get an amen? So here's what Shimon Peres told me. Even if you want to distribute money like a socialist, you got to first collect money like a capitalist. Hello. So all the civil rights leaders out there who are saying you hate capitalism, no you don't, otherwise you would never car note. All the black power leaders out there who say you hate rich people and free enterprise, no you don't, otherwise you wouldn't pay in rent. You wouldn't be going to the grocery store and getting groceries. You wouldn't have a job. You wouldn't be trying to get a job. Or you wouldn't be robbing somebody so you can make some money. All that's capitalism. Some of it bad capitalism, some of it good capitalism, but you're using your human capital and trading that talent for money. You are a capitalist. You are participating in the capitalist system, and you're selling a lie, because if you were truly that person you say you are, you'd be on a fast, and you wouldn't eat anything, you wouldn't sleep any place, you'd live outside, you would not participate in the system because supposedly the system is evil. But you're not going to do all that stuff because you're a punk, because you're living a lie, because you are making money on people's depression and their lack because you don't have a vision to actually solve their problems. But the Bible says without a vision the people perish. I love responsible civil rights leaders. I love responsible civil rights leaders. I love responsible advocates. I love responsible people who advocate for the poor. I love responsible public servants who are more public servants than politicians. But I will not deal with, and I will not tolerate somebody who's pimping my community and calling it grace. Drop the mic. So I'm done. John, shut up and keep talking. I'm done. I'm wiped out. I hope you've enjoyed today. I've given you everything I've got. When I was speaking last night for Andrew Young's event, I said the Bible suggests be hot or be cold, but if you're lukewarm, I'll spat you out. Translation: even God is not like mediocrity. Do not be mediocre. Don't be half pregnant. Live your life with both feet in this game. Learn everything. That's why God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. You listen twice as much as you talk. I hope I've told you something today that has enlightened you. If I've offended you in any way, please blame it on my head and not in my heart. I mean well. I don't criticize anybody because I don't have time for that, and I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in uplift, not put down. I'm just simply saying right and right, that good, there's a difference between good and bad and right and wrong. And when it's good, it should be celebrated. When it's wrong, it should not be tolerated. And we have got to move now from a system of just thriving to a system of thriving, which requires new tools, new mental software, and a new approach to life, and that is the civil rights movement. And that's why I'm bringing an Operation Hope office to a city near you. That's why I'm opening 1,000 Hope Inside locations that have become the private banker to the working poor, the Starbucks financial inclusion, where we're going to move credit scores 120 points in 24 months to help you change your life and give you options to become a homeowner, an entrepreneur, a small business owner. That's why I'm going into your employer, so that we can deal with the depression and the challenges of being an employee in a company that doesn't, it appear, have your best interest in heart. And when you feel that your employer is for you, you'll be for your employer, and now all boats rise. That's where we're going to open Hope inside of Whole Food stores, Hyatt hotels, the Atlanta Police Department, the Detroit Police Department, the Chicago Police Department, the Detroit Medical Center, inside of Atlanta public schools for their teachers, inside of SunTrust banks, Synovus banks, BB&T banks, Regions banks, Union Bank, Bank of the West, First Tennessee Bank, PNC Bank. We're going across this country, and we are going to embed this software to help you help yourself at scale. Because history never feels historic when you're in it. It just feels like another day. But that doesn't mean that the world's not changing right underneath your feet. So the book comes out September, ladies and gentlemen. It's called The Memo. And if you like this, you thought this was hot, then the book's going to be on fire, because it will tell you that there's a game being played and no one gave you the memo. No one gave you the rules of how to live your life full, complete, at maximum potential. And it's what you don't know that you don't know that's killing you, but you think you know. We're going to help you help yourself. We're going to give you that platform to lift yourself up. I'm out. John Hope Bryant. This is the Civil Rights Movement, unbossed and unbiased, coming to you straight and no chaser, from my heart to yours. I love you.